Despite the promise of some relief from interest rate cuts, concerns around the economy, housing and inflation are weighing on consumer confidence in Canada. In fact, a new survey highlights that Canadians are the most pessimistic about the economy than they've been in years. Joining us for a deeper dive, Steve Mossop, Executive VP with Leger, who carried out the survey. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's not a great news story, is it?
No, that's right. And what is worrying Canadians mostly?
Well, at the top of the list, we poll monthly and we ask Canadians, what's the number one issue facing the country? And by far, for the last couple of years, it's been housing prices, the housing affordability crisis. About half of Canadians mention that as the number one issue. Second, of course, is interest rates, which is declining. And then we've got things like climate change and healthcare. So it's on the minds of Canadians constantly. We're finding that about half of Canadian households are struggling to pay either their rent or their mortgage in any given month.
That's amazing. Yeah, housing it's just this millstone hanging around the country's neck, it seems.
It really is. We can't get away from it. It's the first time in decades that I can remember being in the industry where you've had a singular issue taking the top of the agenda. And that's really has trickle-down effects in all aspects of the economy. The pessimism that's there, I'll give you a couple of examples. We look at the number of Canadians who think that the economy is in poor or very poor shape. It's 63%. We haven't seen those numbers, going back to 2017 when it was only around 40%. Those are the highest numbers on the negative side that we've seen. And conversely, only 30% say that it's in good or very good shape. So there's a big gap to catch up on.
I think you touched on this, but you say nearly 50% of Canadians worry about the ability to pay costs monthly. Is that just housing costs or costs generally?
It is just their rent or mortgage payments, and there's not a massive difference between renters and mortgage payers. It's all about the same number. But what's interesting in this poll is that we did dig deeper and ask people, what are they doing about it? How are they making ends meet? And what struck us is that, yes, people are cutting back in their spending. About half of Canadians are cutting back in their everyday household spending. But where it gets interesting from there is when you look at where else people are cutting back, and the numbers get a little bit more granular. People are saving less than what they had been in the past. So 36% of Canadians with a mortgage or rent are saying that. We've got 26% who have withdrawn money from funds that they've saved over time. We've got 15% saying they've increased their debt. Some have changed jobs. Some have driven less vehicles. So there's a myriad of ways that Canadians are trying to make ends meet, but it is a bit of an overwhelming gloom.
One of our guests told us at the top of the show, talking about the U.S. economy, that things are a lot worse for many people than the official numbers would indicate, in particular in the area of joblessness. Do you think there is a lot of misery or economic trouble below the surface that we don't even hear about?
I think so. I mean, Canadians are fairly upfront with us. We've asked the question, are they worried about becoming unemployed? And about, again, a similar number, 49% say that they're worried about them or their significant other major income earner losing their job. And that number has dramatically increased over the last couple of years. So that's something we've tracked since about 2017.
That's a dramatic increase in people worrying about them or their partner losing their work.
Yes, and what a new one that's popped up as well is the number of people, 34%, who feel that they worry about their employer running into financial trouble. And that also has increased pretty dramatically in the last several years.
Well, is there any bright spots here?
Well, we thought, last wave we did this, which was in January, we saw a hint that things were starting to move up. But the gloom and doom actually carries on into the future this time around. It's only 14% who have optimism that things will get better in the future. So right now, it's a pretty big hill to climb. 14% say that it will improve, 38% say it's status quo, and then a whopping 38% again that feel that things will decline in the next 6 months. So we still have a ways to go. Those interest rates from the Bank of Canada that have been recently announced, I don't think they've trickled in yet. Consumers aren't really seeing the impact because we still have a big chunk of mortgage holders that are renewing in this coming year and the following year. And so they're anticipating the future pain ahead.
That's interesting. So just remind us, we are seeing for both renters and mortgage holders this increase in the financial burden of having a place to live.
Yes, and it's astonishing. We have 70% of renters saying that they've had an increase this year. We have 35% of mortgage holders. When you think about it, it's about 38% of Canadians who hold a mortgage of any kind, and only a third have felt the numbers increase this year. We're projecting that number will double next year when all of these term mortgages come for renewal. So there's still a bit of pain on the horizon.
Amazing, because you may have seen the figures, but we're not going to get a big upturn in home building in the next couple of years, apparently, partly because of government bureaucracy and shortages of construction workers, etc.
Well, we did a fascinating survey just a couple of months ago that asked Canadians, do they have space in their home that they could rent out? And we found that 5% of Canadians actually rent out a space in their home, whether it's a garage or a lane home or a basement suite. But another 3 times that amount could rent out their home, but don't. They choose not to because of the pain associated with managing renters. So that was a really telling, shocking statistic that I think impacts the availability of housing in Canada, is this huge group of reluctant homeowners who are not willing to turn over the key and get renters to fill that spot.